Not too shabby, not too shabby at all. This week's episode is all about love. Because everything I'm going to talk to you about today, I absolutely love. It starts with this mysterious box that turned up at my shed about 3-4 weeks ago now. Strangely familiar form factor, but with that post-apocalyptic tin of ambiguous food. Will it be ravioli or mandarin segments in syrup? But we have to go further back than that. Back to a chance encounter in a coffee shop in Bruntsfield. A gentleman came up to me and went, "Are you Christian?" And by that, I presumed he was asking my name and not just an unboundary gentleman with a fascination for the denomination of the faith of strangers. He'd been watching my vlog, maybe just for a couple of episodes, because I'd started on this modular escapade. He introduced himself as Andrew Ostler, or Oz. For those of you not familiar with the world of eurorack, Oz is a total ledge. Oz is Expert Sleepers, a UK eurorack company that has since moved to Edinburgh. And this fortuitous coffee meeting has led to something incredibly exciting. Whilst Expert Sleepers is really bridging the gap between computer doors and eurorack and featured highly in Ableton's CV Tools launch, what they're most famous for are their distings, somewhat rudely referred to as the Swiss Army knife of eurorack. It's that perfect marriage of size versus the sheer volume of utilities it offers up. The reason it gets this rather rude moniker is its size. It's perfect for that last gap in your skiff. And when you fill it with a disting, basically anything you're missing will be covered. You name it, it does. VCO, VCA, LFO, effects, reverb, sample playback, loop playback. The list of algorithms seems endless. And yes, it will always provide you with that missing thing in your skiff. But over time, you'll start relying on it more and more. I've got one just to use as a pitch tracker. The minute you own one, you just want more. And in my case, a lot more. So whilst the form factor of this mystery prototype is familiar to us, what Andrew's actually come up with is an absolute bastard of a unit. The all-new Disting Ultra Multi-Mega Alpha General Ballistic Super Disting EX plus Alpha. I believe Street Fighter V was called something along those lines, so it's an homage to that. So at first glance, the new Disting Ultra Duplex Mega Mungo, just call it Disting EX for short, is like two Distings housed together with a slightly more convenient and legible screen. But this module goes so much further than that. The thing is, the Disting EX has power in mind. That's more algorithms, greater bit depth for sampling, more ins, more outs, more assignable CVs, but also future-proofing. As any Disting user will know, Oz is frequently updating the firmware, not just to make things better, but to introduce all sorts of new algorithms or features. So here's the new menu system, and here are all of the algorithms. And to get two Distings together, simply enter dual mode, and there you have them. However, the real power lies in single mode. And where this power is really apparent is in its all-new multi-sampling potential. I'll get back to that in a minute. But before that, onto another bit of simply sublime eurorack by yet another company based in Scotland, Instruo. They've teamed up with DivKid to create pure art. At first, I didn't get it. A multi-LFO unit with all but no controllers, but you switch it on and it immediately becomes very obvious as to what it is. So if you're familiar with clock dividers, which will take a click in and they'll either divide it or multiply it, this is a clock divider but for LFOs. Set the rate on the CHD and it'll give you back 8 LFOs of gradually slowing oscillations. So I'm going to build a patch out of these, and we'll go back in a second, but first, Staying on the theme of love, 3 items from people or companies that I truly love. First up, Sound Dust does what only Sound Dust does so well, and with saxophones. I know, I have a hatred for saxophones. That was until I saw Colin Stetson play live. Sound Dust has delivered something quite extraordinary. And it's only just been launched, so it's a massive discount, so go along and grab, links below. The Unfinished is arguably one of the greatest synth programmers on the planet. Think I'm talking bullshit? Well, have a word with Hans Zimmer, who's been using his services recently on a very big project. The Unfinished has relaunched his Humankind 2020 sound sets, where a huge chunk of change from every sale goes to charity. Next up, now I don't usually try and overtly plug stuff on my vlog channel, but this is a labour of love that's been 12, 13 years now. I'm talking about Spitfire Labs. This is a free range of plugins. If you haven't checked them out, you'd be churlish not to. But we've just released an extraordinary new kind of synth pack born of atmospheres we recorded whilst travelling the world to create the marketing materials for Tundra. Truly extraordinary sounds. And, you know, for me, the reason why Labs is so close to my heart is it features some of the great original sparks that created this whole Spitfire journey. From the Chirango, I remember putting that sample together where I said to my brother, who actually played the Chirango, this is life-changing. It's the only time in my life I've ever said that kind of histrionic statement, and it's actually come true. There's also the soft piano, which is something I played, I think, over 13 years ago, has become a favourite of simply hundreds of thousands of people. What is it about Labs? You know, my least favourite word is the word cool. I think anything that aspires to be cool is inherently uncool. So it's not cool. And I don't like eccentric because that speaks of trousers that are a bit short and hair that's a bit matted and waxy moustaches. This is not kooky. Labs, the only way I can describe it is it's from the heart. It's a lot of stuff that I've created here in my shed or in the various sheds I've worked with over the years, and increasingly stuff that is the labour of love for many at Spitfire. So why have I brought up the whole Labs thing today? Well, theme of love, absolutely. Also, we've just had our 3 millionth download. That kind of insane lexicon has been crossed. But also because there's a little tying together with expert sleepers. When I met Oz in that ice cream shop the second time, we started talking about samples and eurorack. And then he told me about this new Disting. And we thought, well, why don't we make a bunch of Labs sample packs for the Disting? This is not a commercial venture for Spitfire. And why are we doing it? Well, I wanted the team at Spitfire to experience what I've experienced with this. Maybe haven't produced any kind of Grammy-winning music yet. In fact, it's funny, one of the production team said, I've been working with my skiff now for 3 months and I'm really surprised at how little music I've made. But what it makes you do is just think very differently about things. Thinking about circuitry and CVs has literally flipped my idea of sampling 180 degrees. These sounds are all bundled on an SD that comes with the Disting XS and features all of the Labs favourites, drums, strings. It even has my modular piano library coming full circle. Talk about Eurocrack eating its young. It has a great dulcimer, but by far our most popular instrument to date is the soft piano. I've rigged up my IntelliGel sequencer, left and right out of A and B, CV in 2, gate in 4. Loads of different parameters which you can now adjust with ease courtesy of the screen. I'm going to jump straight away on the envelope release. Here's octave. Pitch. But here's an example of how to think differently with samples in modular. Imagine if we could assign an oscillator from my Instruo to pitch bend just one of the 8 voices every time they rotate. I've heard Oz do this in a cool 9-inch nail style, but I'm far off that here. Now, chord mode. Let me reduce the sequencer to playing just one note. Adjust the scale root and the type. I'm going to select natural minor. Then chord shapes gives us all of the different chords. And inversions. Here we go, a combination of the unexpected of modular with the wondrous sound of Spitfire samples. Now feeding it some different pitches. Gives us different chords. And with the arpeggiator, we can use the chords that almost quantize the pitch of what the sequencer sends it. Here we have almost generative, world-famous felt samples on a eurorack. Right, let's put a quick patch together and see why on earth you would want to put some Spitfire samples into a eurorack. Okay, so several different LFOs out to several different locations. Piano intermagneto delay with Instruo governing the number of repeats. Let's duplicate the IntelliGel's CV and gate and pass those into a 2HP pluck with Instruo also controlling its damper. Add drums and bass and hey presto, a modular system's generative Mega Mungo Alpha ditty. You know, a lot of people have been asking me about Piano Book and Spitfire and where's my heart? You know, Spitfire going into eurorack. Is this a change of heart, a change of direction? And for me, relates back to the very thing that started this whole Spitfire thing off, and that we haven't abandoned, that we still cherish and nurture and love to share. And we love the love people have expressed of these instruments, these free instruments, the original instruments. We love the fact that our original babies, if you will, are being downloaded more than they ever have been. Maybe 12, 13 years after their initial birth. These are not disposable items to be cast away. These are gems to be treasured. Thanks, as always, for watching. Sorry for maybe getting a bit deep. There's loads of stuff coming up, and I imagine you can see that my Frankensynth is coming together to create something that I really hope is going to be absolutely fascinating with this Music by 300 Strangers project. So do subscribe if you haven't done already. Ding that bell if you want to be notified the next time we put a video up, and one of those double thumbs up. I know that's not possible for Oz at Expert Sleepers, DivKid, Instruo, and the guys at Signal Sounds. Thank you so much for letting me get an early first look at these labours of love, these gems. See you next time.